So we're back working on Eric's car here. It's Friday, the last day actually before I need to get ready and head to pits. And I am hoping to knock out the installation of this Vintage Air HVAC solution into the car and bring it up to more modern technology. Chances are heater core would have been bad. Who knows the condition of the evaporator. And although we could have probably kept some factory stuff, Eric wanted to update things, and of course, right, we got all these brand new accessories on the front side of the motor here, including a brand new AC compressor. So it just kind of seemed suiting that because the dash had come out for heater core and evaporator core and all that stuff, why wouldn't we just upgrade everything? So of course, Vintage Air has been around for a long time. They're, I don't want to say down the road, but they're a little south, about an hour and a half in San Antonio. So not too far. And I've seen Gary from Castle Customs install his into the Green Dragon. Sort of inspired me to go down the path and the journey here as well for Eric's car. And I will be doing it in the 93 Cobra build as well. So important thing to note, there are two different versions. There's the 79 through 86 for the 4i cars, and then you have your 87 through 93. So most of the major components would be the same, like the actual unit brain assembly here, a lot of your plumbing, the condenser core for, you know, in the front that goes in front of the radiator, air receiver dryer thingamadoo thing would be the same. A lot of the piping is going to be similar. However, the adapters that go to your vents are going to be different because, well, the dash is different. And the way that things get mounted up here. So funny enough, I'd mixed up the two boxes between Eric's kit and my Cobra kit. And although if you look at this plate and it's the same on the left-hand side, well, it actually differs where my thumb is right now. See how it's actually cut out here, and that's for it to allow this main power wire to pass through and not get compromised. So if you're thinking you can cross-reference the kits or whatever, no, you cannot. There's obviously certain components that you can cross-reference because in this case, we're actually going to be using the 87 through 93 style climate controls. So this is actually going to end up going down to where the radio used to live. And we'll be doing a custom double din unit up on the top side. And again, bringing the car up to life, a little bit more modern. And so that is one thing, and you can request from Vintage Air that, hey, I want the upgraded style climate controls or a different style. There's different versions, like if you want something that's just super ultra small form factor, and custom because you're trying to like hide your climate controls or stick them somewhere else. They've got a variety of different generic control options, which are all plug and play. So you've got that option, and then you have the option of, do you need the AC compressor or no? So they can either supply you the AC compressor with a complete kit, or like in this instance, you can say, oh, I've already got an AC compressor, and they'll just make sure that it's compliant and will work accordingly. And by compliance, it really just means that it's pressure switch activated because they're going to supply you with a binary and trinary switch. So depending if you want the additional wire to be able to do things like kick on an auxiliary fan or something of that nature, then that wire would allow you to do it when the AC kicks on. So those are some of the key differences. I'm going to go through right now and get started on this thing. You'll notice that the dash has already been removed. Removing this dash was the first one I had done in a 4i in a very, very long time. So it was a little challenging. I got a little bit of footage of that. All right, guys. You can tell by my voice, fighting a plague, but sometimes you just gotta plow through it. Working at removing the dash because we're gonna have to rework. Well, we gotta get the heater box out, which we probably could at this point, but the whole dash in reality needs to come out so we can do the new plumbing of all of the ducting for the Vintage Air unit. So I don't even remember the last time I took out a 4i dash, and especially to this magnitude, because there are clips and screws and stuff literally everywhere. You think the older the car, the easier it would be to work on. Yeah, I really don't think that that's the case. So if you're wondering how the dash comes out, once you get the dash pad off, there's some screws that go to these mounting points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top. So instead of going forward like that the aero cars have, it's just got that small little difference, which isn't that big of a deal. The underside of stuff, like other than getting your heater controls out, which again is all pretty straightforward. And then there's the two main bolt assemblies on either side. The only difference on this guy is, I think there's a center one. There's something. So there's a screw. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys and tell you straight up, there's probably easier or better ways of doing this. I'm doing with what I feel is going to be easiest, because yeah, there is actually quite a bit of wiring that gets routed all along this passenger side. The driver's side, it all pulls out. It was actually a lot easier than I thought. Well, I guess because technically a lot of the main harness stuff actually comes through this way. That off. That comes off. Now we got access to all the wiring. I don't even know what some of these modules are. Oh, it's for the glove box light. Oh, big ground wire. Oh, what the hell is this? Oh, random ground wire. It came out all right. The HVAC box and all that looks very similar to that of 87 through 93. So there's really not too many differences there. The evaporator core itself is a little bit different, but guys, this box is actually really, really clean. So maybe there'll be another home or another life for this guy. All the ductwork was very clean, so that was nice to see that it wasn't loaded with dust and dirt and debris or mice nests down through the intake there. And you can see the dash is sitting over there, and unfortunately I had a little bit of a mishap. Bill Butler knew exactly what happened when he heard through the grapevine that the dash cracked when I removed it, and I was ultra careful on what I was doing. But you know what, they're just so fragile this day and age. And even though I kind of had it laying back, you know what I mean, I kind of had the weight distributed across the seats and all that, I was being as careful as I could. And then once it was out, I noticed probably about a 3-inch crack. And the crack wasn't in a good spot. It was right here, and Bill's like, yep, that'll happen more often than not if you're not like even more careful than I was trying to be. So it's almost like one of those things where it's inevitable. So the metal framing on the backside it's just like it puts tension in the wrong way in this spot. And it's pretty much the center point of the dash when you consider the location. And there's just probably a lot riding on this area. So even though I could kind of right? Bend the dash to get the crack shut. It's just really tricky from the backside to do anything. And I'm like, if I'm really going to repair this, I need to be able to get a good penetration with my soldering iron to plastic weld this guy back together. So that's what I did. I did put a bunch of epoxy from the backside, and I'll do a little bit of body working here. We'll do some texture, and the whole dash is going to get re-dyed anyways. We will be okay there. So it's one thing to note when you're taking that dash out, guys, be extremely careful and mindful of what you're doing. And sometimes you can only do so much, right? I already actually had another dash possibly lined up if I wouldn't have been able to fix this one through Chris at Foxbody Parts. So if you guys ever break or need certain parts, foxbody.parts. It sounds like it should be a .com or something, but it's actually .parts. So you can always check him out. He hooks me up with lots of stuff and has some of that oddball stuff that would be hard pressed to find. And the cool thing is he's up north. So for all us guys that are down south and that are used to the dry rotted plastics and clips and connectors and everything else, well, his parts cars are coming up from where cars got, you know, they didn't get too hot. They might have got a little colder than hot, but colder is probably better than hot when it comes to all these plastic clips and connectors. But for now, let's get going at trying to get our template up. Yes, you're gonna have to drill a couple holes into your firewall, so be mindful of that, and we'll get things going. You'll notice that a bunch of the sound deadening insulation has been cut away, and that's as per Vintage Air's instructions. So pretty much the center point of your transmission tunnel, and you kind of just follow the contour of the carpet, maybe a little bit lower to get down below the drain line right here. And funny enough, I noticed where and why I couldn't get my K-member shoved over to the passenger side enough to get it centered, and that's because the one long tube, its primary, is resting on the floorboard right here, which is classic telltale tale of BBK. Don't have enough poor things to say about BBK stuff, but whatever, we'll make it work. So once you've got the sound insulation cut away, you can hold up your template. Again, make sure you got the right one. The thing that's really going to center this out is kind of this, the way the metal is sitting in between these two guys right here. So once you get that situated, and they've got a clamp holding this thing in place, I'm actually just going to mark the holes. And these will be 5/16. And then they want us to open this hole down here to 3/8. So we will do that. Be careful, you do have brake lines on the other side of your firewall here. So just be careful you don't drill into that or drill into your wiring harness. I've got it all out of the way. So I'm just going to drill a pilot hole to start. There's one. So kill mat is installed, and I also followed up in a few spots with some Celeste. It's kind of like a foam sound deadening. I usually use this on the back of door panels, but I figured, you know what, I just add a little bit more in terms of some sound deadening. I don't want to put too much stuff here because I know that the housing of the unit itself is going to be on the back side. Maybe I'll throw a piece in here where it's indented. The next step, you can see the kill mat's pulled away a little bit there, which is fine. It's because I ripped this guy down. Is you need to get this guy and you hold it up over where the original, like if Foxbody's had a cabin air filter, it would be in this area. So you hold it up there, you mark your 4 holes, and we're going to drill them out and then silicone this plate in. So nice little hack here. Want to make sure we're extra sealed. So situated back the way that it was. This one's going to be the bottom. To actually get to pass something through here. This will be that. There we go. Stay, please. Alright, so we got everything propped up. Use 2 drills and an armrest and everything to get that lower bolt started down there to get the bracket to line up with everything. So, gonna get that tightened up, follow the rest of the instructions, but you guys can see what's going on here. Getting pretty close to having, well, the bulk and the more challenging stuff installed, really. As once the heater box is bolted into place properly and we get the final line routing and the top there sorted out, we should be in a pretty good position. So stay tuned. Cool. All right, guys. GoPro died and microphones died and everything else. Made some pretty good progress here. Pretty much everything on this side is run and connected, with the exception of heater core stuff, which we will get to a little bit later in the video. Got to get the condenser up front. So this is pretty much all of what's left, which isn't very much compared to what we started out with. A bunch of dryer tubing and whatnot there. And of course, this is what the unit looks like when it's reinstalled in here. And guys, you actually have to relocate this guy yet again. I don't know why they make you put it on here, and then it's like they forgot, or they reused instructions from 87 through 93, and they're like, oh yeah, because 4 eyes have this, you need to mount this guy vertically like that. But you guys get the idea. We'll be back on it soon enough. We'll get the job done. So we're back in action, and I managed to get the condenser and the dryer all bolted in place, and it's pretty straightforward following the instructions. I actually had a customer stop by, so I didn't get to do much, I guess, talking on the camera, but I got a little bit of footage of putting some stuff together. And you just got to make sure that the orientation of the brackets are in the right place, and then just kind of feeding your hard lines that go from the condenser up to the dryer are where they need to be. And of course, lubricate your O-rings, snug things down, and get things bolted into place. There's the condenser, here's the brackets that are supplied, and the dryer unit itself actually tucks up, and the front side, you can see it's kind of hiding down on the lower side of the headlight core support area. So it's kind of nice. It's tucked out of the way, being all down in there, versus its traditional location that would be kind of on the back side of the firewall there. So it'll free up all of that. I've got the wiring for the trinary switch right here, so I'll have to get all these connected. And guys, the binary versus the trinary gives you 2 outputs, so that way you can trigger, say, your cooling fans when the AC kicks on, so that you kind of got the modern way of doing things. And then of course the other side is going to kick on the actual AC compressor, which is this wire right here, and activated through the pressure switch, so that way it's only going to kick the compressor on if there is the right amount of pressure in the system, so that way you don't burn out your compressor or anything like that if you happen to be low on refrigerant. So got some long lines dangling here. The only things that are left to be able to have this kit connected aside from the duct work, which that'll all need to get plumbed behind the dash, is actually the heater core supply. And Vintage Air actually has this little bypass unit that will only allow coolant to flow through the heater core if the heat is activated by the climate control. So neat little unit. A lot of modern cars have this technology. And then finally, the fittings that'll go on to the AC compressor itself. So we're going to have to get some a manifold for this guy that we can hook the lines up respectively there. And aside from that, some final wiring that will have to be gone through and be able to hook up that climate control, which is pretty much plug and play. And that'll be that for the Vintage Air install on Eric's hatch. So kind of cool that I managed to go through and do most of it on this guy, because now I need to rinse and repeat and do it all on the 93 Cobra, as I got one for that car as well.